All right, let's take you to Oregon now, where armed protesters have taken over the headquarters of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. The property is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. No government employees were on the land at the time because the refuge was closed for the holidays. Well, the armed occupation grew out of a protest earlier in the day in the nearby town of Burns. That rally was to show support for two local ranchers, Dwight and Stephen Hammond. They were convicted of arson and sentenced to 5 years in prison. They're expected to turn themselves in Monday morning. Now, one of the men behind the occupation of the wildlife refuge is the son of Nevada rancher Ammon Bundy. You remember him? He was at the center of a tent standoff last year with the Bureau of Land Management over grazing fees for his cattle. Ammon Bundy says he hopes other like-minded people will join the armed protest at the wildlife refuge. Watch and listen.
For those that understand what is going on, and those who want to and feel a need to stand, we're asking them to come. We have a facility that we can house them in. We have plenty work to do to start to unwind all of these unconstitutional land transactions and controls. And we have plenty work to do. We need you to come and be unified with us so we can be protected and be together. And we're calling people to come. Absolutely.
Ammon Bundy is on the phone with us now to explain what he hopes to accomplish. Thanks for making time. I know it's quite early there in Oregon. I want to start first with the question of the purpose of taking over this building. What are you hoping to accomplish to, I guess, engage the federal government to get the land returned from the refuge to the people who live there, a commutation of the sentences? What is the goal specifically?
Well, one is to get people aware of what's happening, that from the very beginning of the existence of this refuge, it has been destructive to the people of the county and to the people of the area. This refuge alone is 187,000 acres, and in order to make that 187,000 acres, it took 100 ranchers' homes and livelihoods and everything in order to make it. And so we have just a very good example of how government is taking and destroying livelihoods to make themselves a little park.
But Mr. Bundy, let me ask you, what specifically then, using that as the context of this standoff, what do you want from the government? Do you want the sentences for the Hammonds to be reduced, or do you want them commuted? What ends this?
Well, this isn't a standoff, by the way. We're not walking around with a bunch of guns and so forth. Excuse me?
The occupation. We'll use that term. That's fair.
Yeah. It basically we want the government to abide by the Constitution, abide by the authorities in which the people have given it, and to play by the rules so that the people can live and prosper without fear and without being terrorized.
What specifically, though? Because I'm not getting a specific answer. What does the government have to say, or a government official have to say that you'll find appropriate and say that this occupation will end?
Well, it has ended because we've basically removed them at this point from the management, which they do not have authority to be doing in the first place. We are extremely saddened by what has happened to Dwight and Stephen. Innocent people that have Stephen Hammond, innocent people that have been that are symptoms of a much greater problem. But and we're saddened that they're being forced to go to prison for the second time for the same crimes, up to 5 years, for 5 years.
How many
in
people?
Prison. But again, this is just a it's a symptom of a greater problem, which is the federal government controlling the land and resources that belong to the people.